Third point of view. About a month after the talk with his father, Izuku was waiting for Stella to show up at the park. He decided that he wanted to take her to the ice skating rink first since it was in session right now, since it was starting to get colder out. After waiting for a bit longer, Stella showed up and Izuku was having trouble controlling himself from blushing really hard as she walked to him with a bounce in her step. Dear God, get control of yourself, man. You are a walking arsenal of quirks and you can't control yourself around the girl you love? Izuku thought in his mind but realized he had thought of the word love instead of like and realized how bad he had fallen for Stella. Dear God, I hope she doesn't reject it. Izuku thought and Stella asked him what will she reject and he felt like he jumped out of his skin since he muttered it out loud. You will find out later. First, I wanted to take you to the ice skating ring, Izuku said and she nodded her head. Soon they spent 2 hours skating before Izuku had decided to take her back to where they first met. There was a bit of light snow on the ground but Izuku didn't care. Stella had asked him why they were back here where they met and Izuku nodded his head to himself and she looked at him worried that he was going insane. Stella, I wanted to bring you here to ask you something. Will you become my girlfriend? Izuku asked as he presented a rose to her. Stella's eyes widened as she saw Izuku with the rose and the look in his eyes. She was frozen for a bit which made his confidence drop and start thinking that he had just destroyed their friendship because of one-sided love. I'm sorry. I had hoped you had some feelings for me. Guess I was wrong. Is there any way we, like he was saying as she leaned in and kissed him on the lips, bro. She kissed him on the lips, lol. Yes, you idiot. I will be your girlfriend. Sorry it took me so long. I was shocked that you finally asked since I've been hoping you would ask for the past year now, you big idiot. Stella said as she smacked the back of his head slightly. It was Izuku's turn to widen his eyes. Oh, so that's what Dad meant when he said our parents were waiting for us to get together after our tango around each other. I see, Izuku stated, and that just caused her to blush even more. They both broke out of their laughter at the situation and how their parents have been watching them for the past year or so dancing around each other on the issue. Izuku decided to take Stella to the restaurant that was near the park since it was just slightly after lunchtime. They spent the day with each other and Izuku texted their parents in the group chat that Stella accepted his confession and that they were dating now. The parents all sent back a congratulation while Stella's father sent a threat that Izuku better treat her right or he was going to hunt him down. Through Stella's mother seemed to have taken his phone away from him and apologized for her idiot husband, and Izuku said it was fine and that he expected the threat. Hisashi had invited the Vermilions over for dinner and had planned to tell the entire family the family secret since Stella deserved to know if she was going to be involved with them on the family level. Izuku was nervous about it, but Hisashi said it was fine and was doubtful that they would shun them. As such, that is how they all found themselves at the Midoriya's home, eating dinner that Hisashi had made. So, Vermilions, we have a confession to make about our family that you need to know if Stella and you two plan to be connected in depth with us, Hisashi said as he set his silverware down and stopped eating. The Vermilions looked at Hisashi while Stella looked at Izuku, who was nervous. She put her hand on Izuku's hand to help him calm down, which did help him a bit. The parents asked what he meant, and we can hear. Do you remember when we told you Izuku's quirk was copy quirk? He stated and they nodded their heads. Well, that it isn't exactly accurate. It has that function but it's advanced feature of what Izuku and my quirk does. Our quirks are called All for One. Ever heard anything about that name? Hisashi asked and Francis' eyes widened which meant he did. I have. Its story passed by my side of the family since we had a family member that was in Japan during the dawn of quirks. Are you telling me you are connected to that man? Francis asked, and Hisashi shook his head. I am that man, Hisashi said, and Francis' eyes widened, and Hisashi could see the fear in it while the woman was just confused. Don't worry, Francis. I'm not threatening you or your family. I gave up that life about 12 years ago, when Izuku was born, though I had an accident that forced me out of his life, and I only reunited with my son when he was 9, when it took him away from his disgusting mother, Hisashi stated, and Francis calmed down a bit, but he was still tense. Stella, noticing the tension, asked Izuku to explain. Stella, my dad was what you would consider the world's first supervillain, starting at the dawn of quirks 200 years ago or so. When he met my mother, who I hate, they had me, but dad got attacked by a well-known hero of Japan. When he was coming home one day, this led to him being injured and forced him out of my life. Since that same hero ended up meeting my mother and marrying her. They had another kid. I never knew I was the son of their enemy. Ironically, the hero was All Might, the symbol of peace, who became my stepfather. He and my mother neglected me for being quirkless since dad took my quirk at birth, since it could have killed me since it manifested then. Their child also physically and verbally assaulted me for years after the age of 4. Since quirkless people are treated like they are worse than trash in Japan, I ran away, and dad, who looks from afar every year at my birthday, found me since I ran away the day before I turned 9. That's how I came to America, and soon you and I met after a while, Izuku stated, and Stella was shocked at learning everything, but she has questions. So you take quirks from random people to make your stockpile of quirks? She asked, and Izuku said no. Dad used to during his whole villain phase, but my quirks allow me to copy people's quirk if I'm in contact with them longer than a minute. I can copy, take, give, and combine quirks, while Dad can do everything but the first part. Some high up in the government knows of Dad and me here in America. They have even given him a special license to use his quirk. He's not allowed to take quirks away from civilians, but criminals he can, but just has to report it to the government so they know. I've gotten all my quirks so far from my dad since I just copied out of his 200 year stockpile of quirks. Izuku said that, and Stella nodded her head and asked if he copied her yet, and he said no. Doesn't fit the set I'm working on. I don't plan to be Daylight Hero currently. I might whenever you became a hero, so I can be around you all the time, but right now I plan to work in the shadows, so I've built my quirk set around nighttime with some other mixed in, Izuku said, as he showed off a few quirks that he had. Stella thought it was cool and liked the quirks he showed off. She asked what all quirks he had and told her them all without holding back. Then Stella's mother asked about Izuku not growing old like Hisashi and how that would impact their relationship. Not really any impact. Whenever Stella wants to stop her aging, Izuku will force a second quirk into her. It's possible to do it via me and him without causing damage, but it takes a while. I've done it to a lot of my close associates that know the truth about us, so whenever she wants to look in her age, she just needs to ask. So I suggest when she in her late teens, since you women like your youth, Izuku can turn the quirk on and off anytime he wishes due to our base quirk, but Stella won't be able to, so she needs to wait to receive it whenever she wants to lock it in, Hisashi stated, and they nodded their heads, and Stella was daydreaming of being young forever, which Izuku shook his head at. They talked about more things about Hisashi past and found out that there was another quirk called One for All, meant to stop the All for One quirk, and that it had been created by Hisashi on accident, and that All Might has it right now. Your family history is complex. The 1st, the 7th, and the 8th user are all related to you in a way, Stella stated, and she was rubbing her head a bit from all the information of 200 years being laid on her. Izuku just chuckled. Yeah, but number 8 is an unfit parent, so I don't care about him. Would have loved to meet my uncle or grandmother. Oh well, Izuku stated and she nodded her head. Sela then asked when Izuku was planning to take his hero exam since they had talked about that before. Izuku looked at his father who spoke up. It's scheduled for the next month. Then we will likely receive an invite for him to join the special agent program. Hisashi said and then explained the program. Stella didn't like that he was going to join it but accepted it since she knew he was capable of handling himself, especially with the actual quirk of his that gave him huge advantage in battles. Izuku soon asked Stella if she wanted to go to his room to play on his consoles, and she agreed. They were leaving. Hisashi shouted out to keep the door open, which made them blush hard, and we can hear, "Shut up, old man, or I will make you celebrate for the next 200 years." Izuku shouted back, and Hisashi broke out in laughter. "Joke's on you, son. I didn't have plans to get with anyone anyway. I think one idiotic woman was enough for my old ass." Hisashi yelled back, and you could hear Izuku falling the stairs because Stella broke out in laughter while trying to ask if he was okay. Soon the next month passed and Izuku was with his father and the Vermilions sitting outside of a building where Izuku would be taking his exam. The exam was set on an off day so Stella could come and support Izuku since she still attended some form of education since her parents wanted her to be social. After waiting about 30 minutes, Izuku was called to follow a man to take him to Shinji room to get into his outfit that Hisashi had made. Overall, the outfit took a dark color scheme with more of an Asian theme in with how the outfit was made. The mask was also a black and blue from mask that matched the outfit color scheme and had black fabric covering all of his hair in the back. So imagine the Assassin's Creed wearing clothes, but with a Nubius face mask or the fox mask. So yeah, and all of them are like the dark color, like black. So yeah. Overall, the outfit allowed Izuku to blend in with the night, and even during the daytime it will be amazing outfit if Izuku ever decided to go as Daylight Hero instead of underground hero like he will start out as. The fabric was made to self-repair if it was damaged, and there was enough materials to do so since it was a stretchy material. It was made to fit around most of Izuku's current quirk set and the likelihood of any future quirks except major ones that changed his body. Izuku had entered the new room after changing and was a written test that tested him on his main laws that he needed to know some situation that needed to apply what he knew to them. This portion of the test was set to take 50 minutes, but Izuku finished it in 20 minutes, which surprised the judges. They thought he was going to fail, but were for the shock when the test showed he had 100% score on the test. The exam watcher saw no sign of him cheating, and the president of the commotion had even had Izuku set up a machine to monitor quirk usage, and they saw no sign of spike indicating a quirk being activated used outside of the normal activity. As such, he was clear to move to the next stage. The next stage was combat section, where Izuku had to defeat a range of different opponents. That the thing about the separate request exam was that unlike the heroes school big exam where they recruit people and then fight in large group, the separate exam takers fought alone and they can choose as many opponents as they want to fight. They then will be judged on how well they do and how they acted. The exam taker does not know their opponent's names, faces or quirks until they fight them. They have to pick a number of people to fight and just work up the list of opponents they choose from weakest to strongest. Izuku shocked everyone once again by requesting all available opponents, and we can hear, "I want to see how far I can go. I don't pass based on it if I win each one anyway. I pass based on how you all judge my fighting abilities and how well I use my quirk. or my Quirk List fighting, so I would like to fight them all from weakest to strongest. The exam protector were shocked at the radio in the people in charge of the entire exam. The president of the commotion, since they were on site for Izuku exam when they saw it get scheduled. The president authorized it, and he was laughing, and so we can hear it seemed the boy is like the father in giving me enjoyable entertainment with whatever they do. The men left as they sat in observation room that was connected to the fighting room. Soon the exam started and they all watched Izuku make easy work of the first 15 opponents that he fought. Overall, those people were in the lower rank of the heroes, but the fight started taking a bit longer and higher Izuku went. There were 50 opponents in total. It was about an hour later when Izuku fight were over. Izuku had beaten all 50 opponents total. The last 5 people were all in top 200 of the entire nation rank, which meant Izuku had trained quite well under Hisashi Midoriya, which didn't surprise the president of the American Hero Commotions. He not even tired overall, a bit exhausted, but still have a lot to fight in him, likely a quirk that provides the increase of stamina. Though the commotion president soon, Izuku moved into the next section where he had to rush into a room and act as if he was responding to rescue. Izuku did this part quite fine and was able to get all of the points in this section as well. As such, Izuku Midoriya had passed his exam with flying colors and was granted his hero license, though the commotion president had to, an offer to make, which he believed they would be expecting from him, and they were. Izuku came out of the exam and made his way over to his father and the Vermilions, who were all waiting for him to finish. They saw him come out and noticed it had only been 2 hours when the exam was set to take 3 hours total. They were worried that he had failed, but Hisashi knew his son had passed without any doubt. If he didn't, he would actually be concerned about someone intervening, if anything. Just as Hisashi had predicted, Izuku had passed the exam with flying colors and was granted his full hero license, since this was the exam for full one instead of the provisional one, which you only obtained via hero school, since that is where they allow you to gain experience before the full exam, and third parties could only pay to have the full exam done and not a provisional exam is done, since the commotion didn't want random people running around with just provisional license, which was slightly easier to get since they expected a hero school to keep them in line. As the group was celebrating with each other and talking, Hisashi noticed that Hero Commotion of America president had started coming toward them. Son, here comes the president of the commotion. I believe he will make the offer that I warned you about. Are you sure you want to accept it? Hisashi asked, and Izuku nodded his head and was sure he wanted to go to the route, since he would allow him more privileges in the hero world and give him access to the likelihood of finding more powerful quirks. It would also help him if he ran to All Might on the job and All Might found out about who he was, since the special agents had special I don't know how to spell this word. Hold on, give me a second. Special jurisdiction rights, which would complication matters for the Japan if they had any ideas of trying any illegal moves on him at All Might's or Green Tornado's request. The president of the commotion arrived next to them and requested a private meeting with Izuku and Hisashi, which they accepted. The Vermilions would wait for the Midoriyas in the side room until the meeting was done, and they planned to go out to dinner to celebrate. After walking a bit, they arrived in the room and sat down. Congratulations on passing Shadow Hero Hunter. I quite like the name though. I wonder what inspired that name itself. Izuku asked the president of the commotion. Izuku thought about what inspired him to make the name and then spoke. Multiple things, as you know about our quirks. I have some inspiration from the quirk itself. I know very likely I will be used to stopping villains from returning permanently if they have dangerous quirk, either via killing them or removing their quirks, which limit their future actions. So Hunter is in hunting people down and hunting new quirks down to add to the collection. The shadow part is because I plan to be mostly an underground hero type for a while until Sela graduates from hero school. After that, I will likely start going more daylight, but still focus on special operation missions that require a massive hitter or sneaky entrance even during daylight. As such, I want to be a shadow that people don't really think about until they notice it, because let's be honest, you don't notice your own shadow until you look down at it or it's brought right in front of you. If something makes it more defined to the point it catches your eyes, I would be like that, unseen until the last moment, or I deem myself needed to be seen as a determinant to villains, because getting your quirk taken would be one huge determinant to doing crime, Izuku said, and Commotion President nodded his head at Izuku's word because they were true, and the Commotion President was happy that Izuku was mature and had an overall plan throughout. With your father involved in your life, I'm sure he already warned you and told you about the special agent program, yes? The president asked, and Izuku nodded his head at the statement. Good, if you have any question then feel free to ask, but I hereby firmly invite you into the special agent program. Do you have any question about joining? He asked, and Izuku thought for a few minutes and said, yes, I have some. As you know, I am with Stella, and I'm sure you are aware of my former family. In regard to Stella, would this program prevent me from becoming a daylight hero in the future if I decided to do that with her whenever she graduates in the future? Izuku asked, and the president thought it over for a few moments. Normally, we like the special agent to stay hidden for the most part. However, we would work around it and make you two licenses, one for your special agent position and one normal hero license if you are doing anything that isn't for the special agent assignment. Then just show your normal license, which would hide the fact that you are special agent, stated Izuku, the president, and Izuku thanked him for that. Overall, you will be asked to go to a mission that might include international trips if case lead you out of the country or the UN request you go somewhere. Otherwise, you operate as a normal hero unless needed for special assignments, so I don't see anything that prevents you from working with her in the future, he stated, and Izuku nodded his head. Then he thought about Izuku's former family that was hotbed of a mess in his honest view. To be honest, your stepfather, mother, and half-siblings issue is a hotbed of the mess. However, it isn't something we can't handle since they haven't found you in all of these years, and unless you become the center of attention that international news pick you up, then they likely won't find you. Though a case might lead you to Japan, which will be an issue, and that in that point, would you have to deal with them finding you? Even if they do find you, call my phone number at any time of the day, even if I'm sleeping, and we will send paperwork renouncing you Japanese citizenship, which ties Japan court's hand for the most part. They still might try something, but it will take time and a lot of work, but by then you could likely escape back to America, where you will be protected easier, even if you stayed for a case. With your quirks, it will be hard for them to lock you down. Even then, you being an official hero ties their hands as well, since as an official hero you are legally recognized as a legal adult, even though you are underage for lots of laws. You can even drink now since you have the full hero license, stated the president, and Izuku nodded his head in the understanding. He thought it over and realized that unless All Might tried to physically stop him, then they couldn't do much against Izuku, though your father can't even step foot in Japan since they could legally arrest him if they can connect the crimes of All For One to Hisashi Midoriya, which I fear All Might figure out a way out with Principal Nizu's help of UA, so Hisashi stopped returning to Japan in my opinion, and just have a representative do the works instead. They can touch you in America since we would never authorize your arrest since we get far more benefits and you committed no crime since you turned over a new leaf, so we don't see any reason to allow them to since you provide a lot of tax money and benefits to the country, stated the president of the commotion, and Izuku was glad that at that moment his father had turned over a new leaf all those years ago and has clear record since then. With all of that talked about, I accept the offer to join the special agent program since it will provide me more benefits to block them and allow me to operate more in the dark without other really knowing me or knowing of me, Izuku said, and the president said he would have the special agent paperwork sent to their family lawyer and the special agent license printed soon after. The meeting came to an end and Izuku and Hisashi met with the Vermilions and informed them of Izuku accepting the offer to enter the special agent program. Scylla told Izuku to be careful or else she was going to make him pay. Oh, how are you going to make me pay if I'm not careful? Izuku asked, and both male adults rolled their eyes and looked at him. You screwed up, they both said at him, and he was confused until he turned to look at Scylla and got the hint she was glaring at him and then grabbed his ear and twisted it. Oh, I'm sure I can find my way punishing you, she said in a tone that sent shivers down Izuku's spine. Crap, I effed up. And I don't even know what she will threaten me with, Izuku thought, as he felt some of heat from Scylla's hand. Come on, stop heating my ears up, it's really uncomfortable, Izuku said as she just kept twisting his ear and using her fire to heat her hand up, which made his eyes heat up, which only made it far more uncomfortable. The male just snickered at Izuku's plight until Izuku just gave up and submitted. Fine, I promise, I will be careful, my lovely Chrisman Hime, Izuku said in a pleasing manner that made Scylla let go and just pout. Here you are just talking about not being safe and just going to leave me alone if you screw up in battle. How did I end up with such an uncaring lover? She pouted with fake tears, but Izuku didn't care as he pacified her and apologized. She very quickly changed her attitude and smiled at making Izuku give in, and the male adult just whispered about him being whipped already, though Francis got smacked in the side by his wife, who glared at him. Izuku decided to take more quirks from his father to help him survive with being up almost all day since he would spend time at the business working, then part of his afternoon with Scylla since he refused to cut time with her, and then he had hero work in the late afternoon and early mornings. Guys, sorry you might hear some background noise. It's one if one is my family or second is the storm outside, so yeah. So the new additions, Energy Siphon. This allows the user to siphon off energy from living things to replenish the user's own energy. Power Nap. The user can reap the benefits of full night rest in 30 minutes of sleep. The user can share this ability with someone if they maintain contact with them while both parties are asleep. Memory Recall. The user is able to recall anything that they have experienced. This allows them to never forget anything, and they only need to think of the topic to recall the memories. Visual Teleportation. This allows the user to teleport to any place that is within the visual range, and he can clearly see this cost of the user stamina to teleport and requires more stamina if he teleports others with him. He combines this with his crow sight to help him to travel to more complex places or further distances. In all honesty, Izuku thinks that the 3 new quirks that Izuku found from shifting through the 200 years worth of quirks are how his father was survived so long since they were so powerful. These quirks could help fuel his hyper regeneration quirk and allow him to be effective in investigation. As such, with these new quirks, Izuku was no longer feeling the drain of pulling all-nighters after spending the day at the business or with Scylla, since he could use Power Nap to sleep for 30 minutes and get refreshed on his energy and stamina. As the months had passed, Izuku had now turned 13 and had handled a lot of small-time criminals that he had encountered through the city since he becoming a hero. However, it seemed like today was going to be a troublesome day in Izuku's opinions. As he was moving through the city, he had sent all the crowds that he controlled out to scout all the areas around him. About 3 hours into the patrol, and it was now 4 a.m., Izuku was alerted by one of his crows that some weird creature was spotted attacking the area around Times Square. Izuku quickly headed off in direction because the person or thing that was fighting the heroes and police was not going down easily, even though they were hitting it hard with their quirks and bullets. It had easily lifted a tower boss and tossed it into the building, damaging it. Izuku arrived on the site via visual teleportation and landed on one of the shorter building in the area. Izuku watched the movement of the creature and could observe the head brains sticking out. However, that isn't what freaked Izuku out most. The feature of All For One is more or less gaining a quirk vision view where they will see quirks inside of a person if they switch to the visual view. It turned everything black except the set quirks, and Izuku saw around 10 quirks all mangled together inside of the creature and couldn't tell what they were. Izuku dropped down and landed on the spotlight behind the heroes and police. An officer turned around and saw him. He was about to ask who the hell he was, since Izuku wasn't really known even in the underground hero's eyes, but before he could, Izuku gathered all of the shadows in the area and created a vortex of whips to surround the creature, locking it into position. Even though it was locked down, it kept struggling and trying to break free of his grasp. Everyone was shocked that the creature had just gotten stopped and looked at where the officer was talking to and saw Izuku in his outfit with his fox mask on. Izuku pulled out his normal hero license and showed to the police officer, whose eyes widened. Most of Izuku's information was hidden since he was registered as an underground hero currently, so it only showed his hero name and authorization to act. Thank you, Pro Hero Hunter. We were having trouble stopping it until you arrived, the officer called out, letting everyone know he was indeed Pro Hero, though they wondered why he was so short. Izuku took his license back and moved toward the creature and examined it. It really does have multiple quirks that are butchered together. I don't even know if I could pull all these quirks out of it. Someone did this without All For One, which means someone has figured out how to create weapons with multiple quirks. That is very bad, Izuku thought as he pulled his cell phone out. As he did that, he summoned the shadows a bit more and crucified the creature so it can't move anymore. The creature screamed in pain and the heroes looked at him as if he was crazy for causing harm to the person. It's not a human, at least not anymore. Get something to contain this thing now, with a large enough metal to keep it contained, Izuku said, with his voice modifier on so people didn't know he was so young. Izuku then pressed the contacts on his phone and arranged. Hello Hunter, may I know why you are calling so late, or rather early in the morning? Asked the president of the commotion. Hello sir, I'm calling about high-level threat. I need you to send a representative to handle the creature I just detained in Times Square. Police are finding something to keep it contained after I released it, but I need to be secured better than they can do it, sir. It has multiple quirks that weren't done via All For One. Someone has figured out a way out to make a bioengineered weapon with multiple quirks, and I don't know if I can pull the quirks out of it, and I won't try until we are in a private setting since I'm still in public. Izuku stated, and everyone stated on the phone as he moved away from everyone else while still maintaining the shadows to keep it contained. Overall, it wasn't that strong, but the fact that someone made a multi-quirk creature that could easily deal with basic heroes was troubling. The line was silent for a few minutes. I'll have somewhere there tell the police to keep it contained in a container or something, or you keep it contained until the representative arrives. Don't let the creature out of your sight. You were right to call me right away, but this since that is a huge issue. We need to figure out where this creature came from. I'll bring your father in the loop on here, or like on this, since he might know something from being as old as he is. The representative should be there in 5 minutes since he is already close. He is read in already about you and your father, stated the president of the commotion as he hung the phone up. Izuku then went back to the officers who had brought normal police van. Izuku shook his head. No, that won't hold this. We need something better, but regardless, a representative from the Hero Commotion will be arriving in about 5 minutes. This creature will be sent to a special location to imprison it, Izuku said, and they all questioned how they knew this. And Izuku said he called the Hero Commotion president directly, and they looked at him if he was joking. Izuku just chuckled at their expression, and soon the representative arrived after about 8 minutes. The representative saw the creature and paled a bit. He made a few calls and asked Izuku to keep it contained for a while longer. About 10 minutes later, new vehicle arrived, and it was a heavier truck with a steel caged box in the back with a place to lock in a person with large cuffs that should keep the creature contained. Izuku moved his shadow and made them coil around the arms and legs of the creature and moved it into the seat and used other shadows to close the metal looking devices inside. He pulled the shadows back slightly but kept them close enough to grab if somehow broke free. After the creature started to try and break free, it was deemed safe since it still wasn't breaking out of the hold. Izuku got into the car with a commotion official and followed the transport from behind, where they went to America Vision of Chartres prison, their most secure prison in America, which was said to be harder to break out of than Japan's most secure prison. However, unlike Japan's most secure prison, no one in America actually knows where America's most secure prison is located at. They all think it's Rikers Island, which they stated is the most secured, but it's not. That's the second most secured one, where a lot of top villains go, but if they think they have a chance to escape, they go to the hidden one. The hidden prison is accessed via an underwater tunnel, and the prison is located under the Governor Island, which had been turned into a Hero Commotion office publicly, but in secret. It's where they monitor the hidden prison and the other things for the hero across America. If prison escape is likely to happen, then the island can flood the section of the prison and drown in the people inside said sections if the commotion is already forced to do it. After arriving, Izuku found his father and the president of the commotion waiting for them. What a way to make your real big debut, Hunter. The news is already talking about you, the mystery hero known as Hunter, who hunts into the shadows. They are talking about how you handle the monster that many heroes couldn't do and have partial image of you. It's good thing you wear a mask, or this goes your privacy, joked the president of the commotion. Hisashi just congratulated Izuku for a good job, and soon they made it to the room that the creature was being held in. I can confirm that what you said, son. This wasn't done via quirk like ours. From what I know, it's possible, but it looked mangled, like they were forced together. Now, not even when I forced a quirk into someone with Russian did it turn out like this, and the last time I did that was 90 years ago. This look multiple DNA meshed together, which formed a mess of quirks. Hisashi stated, and the scientists that were read on Hisashi and Izuku were making notes. A lot of the very important people in the commotion knew of Hisashi, as they were just taking notes as he spoke, since they knew he was experienced in what he was talking about. Izuku then touched the creature and tried to remove one of the quirks, but it just ended up breaking apart and destroyed the quirk. Interesting, I saw that happen. If we try to take a quirk, it's break down. Is too unstable to be removed. I wonder what happened if we put a new quirk in and copy a random quirk from me and put it inside of it, Any quirk will do, really, Hisashi said, and Izuku performed the action as they watched what happened. The quirk touched the other and bounced off, but stayed inside, so it tried to be combined but rejected each other, but the quirk is still inside. I wonder if it can use it. What did you give it? Hisashi asked, and Izuku said a quirk that made it have a longer tongue. The scientists forced the mouth open as the creature tried to break free. They saw that it didn't have larger tongue from what was observed beforehand. Okay, try to take it back, Hisashi said, and Izuku did, but it broke apart. Well, it seemed the quirks that are put into this creature become unstable since it broke apart. That's good to know, Hisashi said, and Izuku didn't want to try to copy a quirk out of it. I don't think it's wise for me to attempt to copy quirks from it. It might kill me if it's destabilized as all for one, Izuku said, and Hisashi agreed as well, so that test was off limit. They decided to start taking blood from it and see if they could find any DNA matches in the system for who this might have been, but they will take time due to how many people are in the country or even possibly the world, since they aren't sure it was made in a country. Since villains can travel between countries, Izuku then remembered that he had a quirk called Knowledge. I'm going to try Knowledge on it. It might give us some clues, Izuku said, and Hisashi nodded his head. Izuku performed the quirk and screamed in pain as he backed away. Hisashi quickly moved to his side and did some doctors. Crap, what the hell? Izuku cursed out loud. They asked what was wrong, and Izuku looked at the creature. Going to tell you now, you're going to get multiple DNA hints. This is some experiment that's made in multiple humans. That's why the quirks are like that. Someone is conducting massive human experiments. I could only get so much information before the knowledge quirk went high wire due to the conflict information from multiple sources, Izuku stated, and Hisashi nodded his head since it made sense. The president asked if he got any other clues, and Izuku thought it over and said, as it stands, I can tell you it wasn't made in the United States. Before I got cut off, it seemed like it was about to show for Asian name for the location where it was made. However, I couldn't see it fully before it cut off. I can say it was likely somewhere in Asia. We can likely limit down once we get the DNA DNA test back, Izuku stated, and they all nodded their heads. They could only wait and let the scientists do their works. Izuku thought was having a margin for that knowledge quirk going high wire, and we can hear that. Do you got any quirks to help with margins? Izuku asked, and Hisashi nodded his head. Izuku copied the quirk, which was called Clear Head. This allows the user to negate any issues with their mind or issue revolving around their brain. So for the Quirk list, right now we have All for One, Hyper Regeneration, Stamina Booster, Familiar Telepath, Geolocation, Crow, Knowledge, Shadow Master, Pitch Black, Shadow Minions, Shock Absorption, Velocity, Double Strength Booster, Color Changer, the new quirks, Warrior Replication, Null, Pain Negation, Mental Restoration, Energy Siphon, Power Nap, Memory Recall, Visual Teleportation, Clear Head. So, Izuku Midoriya, who was 14 now, was spending time with his girlfriend for almost 2 years now. Izuku was so happy that he had followed the Scream that day all of those years ago and had found her. She had made him start loving himself more and decreased his self-hatred issues. Izuku, even after a year or being with his father, still had self-hatred issue due to his green hair and green eyes. That reminded him of his mother, but after a while with Scylla help, Izuku's issue had decreased due to her positive reinforcement. There are some days where they make a reappearance, but Izuku was doing much better and Scylla was always made sure to support him whenever she knew he was having issues. Most of his mental issues had been addressed since Izuku had made his appearance in Hisashi's life at the age of 9, and Izuku knew he would never replace his father ever. Izuku could see the light and day difference between All Might and Hisashi. Even he was busy, Hisashi always made time for Izuku when he asked for it. Izuku has also spent time helping Stella train, and Hisashi has even helped her. This caused Stella's experience and skill to skyrocket. Her quirk overall was complex one, but also an extremely powerful one after being put through the ringer by Izuku and Hisashi. Stella's quirk Phoenix Queen had evolved somewhat under the pressure that Midoriya's put her through. Her quirk evolved from controlling fire, providing a healing aspect, and materializing as a sword, to the point that Stella could now control the fire enough that she could materialize wings of fire that allowed her to fly, increase the healing aspect, and allow that to materialize the sword quicker. It also allowed her to boost her strength and speed past her natural limit. For periods of time, she also could make any fire be put out at will as well, even if it was caused natural or be another person's quirk. Overall, it was about double the power that she had before she started training with Izuku and Hisashi. They were proud of her accomplishment that she has gained in a half of a year worth of training. Months passed and Izuku had decided to take Stella out for a night on the town since they had small break from her school. They were currently sitting on hillside and were watching the city life pass by them. So Stella, you have about a year or so left before you attend the hero school. Have you decided where you want to go? Yeah, and Izuku asked her. She thought about it, and honestly, she didn't know where she wanted to go. Honestly, if you end up with any long-term mission in other country, I would transfer to wherever you stationed so we can spend time together. I don't really care about what hero school I go to. I just want to be near you. As long as you are in the New York area, I will just attend the hero school near here, which is highly rated school as well. Stella said, and Izuku nodded his head at the understood her desire. He as well wanted to be around her as well, and didn't want to separate from her for a long period of time either. A week was reasonable, and all but anything longer than that would be annoying to Izuku. As they were all just lying there, Stella decided to ask Izuku how his work was going in the business and hero work. Overall, from actual business is it's done well. We expanded into more foreign markets and have capitalized on several deals. We also pushed your parents' businesses to new height as well, and they gained the traction in America market at faster pace than expected when the first deals were made between our families. They are expected to make a profit overall, the America branches from their initial investments, but by the end of the year instead of the next 3 years projected, Izuku stated, and Stella nodded her head since she knew about that and was happy for her parents once they can't even speak, recuperate all of their investment. Then it will be working in the black from now, which will make things easier overall for their American branch. Izuku then started to talk about his hero work. There are limits on what I can tell you due to laws. Overall, I'm doing quite well in cases I've been handling. I've had to deal with some special agent cases I have killed. It was disturbing. I felt sick with myself and disgusted, but coming home to you after a mission made it easy to push down and move forward, Izuku stated, and he hugged Stella. Stella had moved into the Midoriya's home halfway into their relationship. Since the amount of time she spent with Izuku, the parents agreed to it but warned them not to make any children, which caused them to blush and honestly helped Izuku improve overall, with his girlfriend of almost 2 years being around more when he had to come back from those nasty year missions. On those days, Izuku knew he wasn't a monster for dirtying his hand. For the sake of peace, Izuku had found some interesting quirks as well, but kept them hidden from emergencies since they were a bit more destructive, and Izuku could see why they ended up being targeted for permanent removal due to how many people they killed with the quirks. Stella just hugged Izuku as talked and nodded her head. Just remember, you're not a monster. These people you are killing have done many horrible things. It will be one thing to kill a random thug, but an entirely different thing to stop mass murders that just enjoy killing innocent people, Stella said, and Izuku leaned down and kissed her on the lips and thanked her. Stella then asked about the creature case since she knew some of it already from the media. It's getting troublesome. They are tracking down all the DNA and have found nearly all of them. It appears to be sourced in Japan, which means I will have to travel there for a mission, which is risky since it means I can run into them, Izuku said, and like he made himself tense a bit at talking about them. She nodded her head. Just remember, if the case turned into a long one, then I will just transfer to Japan so I can spend time with you and all, Stella stated, and he nodded his head at the statement. Izuku just really didn't want to deal with them, but the more and the commotion dug into the case, the more it looked like he was going to be returning to Japan for a long-term mission, since he doubts a case like those creatures will be simple and easy to solve since it took them this long to even track the source or where they were being created to down to one damn country. As they were resting, Izuku felt his phone vibrate and so it was time for them to leave and return home. As such, they got up and left soon and arrived home. Izuku found the entire family at the home getting ready for dinner. Since Izuku and Stella have been dating for over a year now, she moved in with the Midoriyas and Vermilions had started showing up for dinners every other day, which has become a normal event. We're home, Izuku called out, and Hisashi said the dinner was about to be done and to get ready, which they nodded their heads at. Soon dinner was ready and they all found themselves at dinner table eating dinner and talking about different things. As the night went on, Izuku was just glad that he could enjoy days like these, but he knew that one day the place will be destabilized. As they were sitting there eating dinner, Izuku received a phone call. It was the president of the Hero Commotion. Izuku looked at his father who nodded his head and Izuku just answered the phone there at the table. "Hello sir, I'm having a feeling that I'm not going to enjoy the reason you are calling, am I?" Izuku said, a feeling of dread when he saw the name of the caller ID when it rang. "You will be correct, Hunter. We gathered everything we could really gather from the creature you captured about a year ago. We haven't received any more attacks from the creatures like it, but the issues still stand and it's threats that need to be dealt with. As such, I'm calling you to issue you in a special agent mission in conjecture with the United Nations, since we have brought them into the loop about this mission and they are concerned about it as well. As such, starting in a few months, you are to relocate to Japan for the forcible feature under the authority of the UN. You are to use your special agent authority where you see fit to ensure you get the resources from local heroes of Japan to ensure you get the job done. The UN and America want whoever is making this creature to be stopped, and if they can't be captured, when you find them, then you are to kill them to ensure they don't escape. Do you understand?" As the president of America Commotion, Izuku was silent for a few moments but excelled. "I understand, sir. I will start to prepare to leave within the next month and a half. May I inform Stella of this order? She is planning to attend hero school wherever I am stationed so we can stay together," Izuku asked him and hoped the request would be approved since Izuku didn't want to deal with being in Japan alone. Everyone at the dinner was tense due to hearing Izuku's words. Stella looked at him in concern and waited for him to receive an answer. Izuku waited and waited, then got a response. "Sorry for the wait. I was talking to the representative from UN who is in my office about allowing the information to be told to Stella. I explained that your former family is in Japan and are significant heroes who do have some authority to cause you issue. They have agreed with me to have her read in the entire case, so you don't have to hide things from her about it, so she can mentally support you since you have to be in your home country where you received a lot of trauma. We both know the likelihood of you running into them is going to be high as well, so it will be good to have her nearby. I will suggest having her apply to UA since it's the best hero school in Japan, but that's for you to decide, or where she goes. If you want, I can do a recommendation for her to UA, or she can take the general exam. I know she's powerful enough to beat either exams, the president of the commotion stated, and Izuku thanked him, and Izuku then looked at Stella. I'll let Stella know of your offer to recommend her to the UA hero course in Japan and our plans to move to Japan for the forcible feature, Izuku said, as she would know the location of where they were going. I'll reach out to you in a few days with a decision since I know the paperwork for UA will need to be sent in soon, Izuku stated. He talked a bit more before ending the call. So yeah, look like we are going to Japan if you still want to go with me since I'm being stationed there for forcible feature, Izuku said as he looked at her, and she quickly responded, of course, I still want to go with you. Without a doubt, I will go with you no matter what. Now, since you have been near your previous family now, I can already foresee the future headache that you are going to have now, she stated, and Izuku nodded his head. Old man, will you mind buying me a property in Japan? Actually, let's put it under Stella parents' name or something, so if they do figure me out, they will have some trouble tracking me down, Izuku stated, and they all nodded their head. There is good idea, anything to delay them from finding you will be helpful. I think it might be good idea to also buy a gated house so they can just walk up to the house and have to go through the fence and the gate. If they go over it, then they will be breaking and entering, and you could cause legal issues for them as well, Hisashi stated, and Izuku nodded his head at the idea. Izuku really didn't want to deal with those people, but he knew he would likely have to no matter what. In the end, Stella just rubbed his back and told him that she will support him and help him, which Izuku responded with a kiss, causing her to blush hard since it was in front of their parents. So, it's been about a month since Izuku had received a phone call from the president of the commotion in regards to his new orders. Stella had finished the schooling that she needed her for middle school and had tested out of it. They also decided that it would be a good idea for Stella to also test out for her high school education. So the only thing that she needs now is the actual hero course education system. The reason that they did this was to ensure that she had much free time, which Izuku that she could have. They didn't know what exactly UA will do with her free time during that day, since she wouldn't need the classes, but they assumed that Nizu would likely put her into advanced classes like he has done so in the past with a student like Stella that have passed through his halls. Izuku had looked around on the internet with with the parents. They have even contacted the real estate agent in Japan and gave them a list of what they were searching for it in their new home in Japan and the rough area where they wanted it to be. At first, the real estate agent thought they were being pranked since it was a Parisian caller making the request, but soon realized they weren't kidding and got to work quickly. Outside of that, Izuku had talked to their parents and had to listen to the threat from Francis at Vermilion. Francis was threatening Izuku and telling him that he better take care of his daughter or else Izuku was reaching his limit. on listening to his threats and he snapped back. "Oh, you think I'm going to let that future mother of my shooter get hurt or mistreated?" Izuku snapped out after listening to so many words of his. The room was silent until Izuku realized what he said and decided to hide his face in the couch pillow. "God, kill me now," Izuku groaned out as the adults were all laughing at him. "Oh, already planning marriage now, are we?" teased Stella's mother, and Izuku groaned until he heard a squeak from behind him and turned around to find Stella returning from finishing her last day at school. She was bright red from what she heard, and Izuku groaned again and hid his face in the pillow. "Stella, you heard all of that, didn't you?" Izuku asked, and she nodded her head. Izuku rolled his eyes and pulled her down into his lap. "Well, I meant it. When we get a bit older, I will propose to you, okay?" Izuku said as she nodded her head while in his lap, with a large blush. Izuku was so flush red as well since he had said that in front of their parents. Stella's mother just said she approves of it while Francis rolled his eyes and grumbled out approval. Hisashi just laughed at his son the entire time, which earned a glare from Izuku. As they all calmed down, Izuku looked at the message on his phone and that he received. "Seth got back with me. The paperwork for the new home in Japan was finalized. It's been put under the Vermilion's names. It's a home on the coastline of the Shizuoka prefecture. It's about 30 minutes away from the school via train and 10 or so away via car. I've had Seth arrange for the car to be sent to Japan for me to drive since my special agent license grants me the right to drive even though the law says I can't. So when I can, I will always take Stella to school myself so she doesn't have to take the train, or we can arrange for a driver from one of our local branches to drive her to from the home to the school," Izuku stated, and everyone nodded their heads. They all just enjoyed their time before the children would leave in the next couple of weeks. Time passed quickly and the two of them were off from the United States to Japan. The trip was long, but being together made it seem short. As soon as the plane landed, a car was driven to them. It was blue Mercedes-Benz GLC that was nice and clean. Now you would think that Izuku would be riding in the sports car or something, but that wasn't honestly the Midoriya's way. No, they were more of the efficiency and the ability to meet their needs, which this car did. It provided enough room for them to drive in and transport things, but also was a top-class car for what they needed. Izuku opened the door and allowed Stella into the passenger side. She looked at him and asked her if he actually knew how to drive. Izuku chuckled at that question and said, "Do you remember multiple quirks my Chrisman Himi? That transferred all of his driving knowledge to me, and then he helped me practice on the reaction of Japanese road a few weeks ago. He went to great length to ensure I know how to drive in Japan," Izuku stated, and Stella giggled at the length of two Midoriyas went to ensure Izuku was successful. "God damn, the sound of her giggles make me feel on cloud 9, Izuku thought as he finished loading everything into the car before starting to drive off. After about 40 minutes from driving from the airport, they soon arrived at their brand new home that Izuku had spent the time finding. "I hope you enjoy our new home. I spent some time trying to find something that would give you a feeling of traditional Japan but also still have the modern conveniences that you enjoy so much," Izuku stated as they came up to the home. Stella was amazed at the home that she saw as they drove past a gated fence area. If the Yages or anyone else wanted to get to them, then they had to break into the property or use Quirk to illegally enter since Izuku had paid someone to fence the entire property in before they arrived. They owned several RCs of land around the home as well, so no one could use the excuse of accidentally crossing into their land since it was all fenced at the a property line. Izuku parked the car in the garage that was on driveway that led further to the main house building. The garage could fit around 3-4 cars and had some other rooms and if the storage. We have a living area further down the path and then another one of our side closer to the shore, but we will be living in the main building that has the pool attached to it. If our parent decided to join us, or rather your parents, since dad will have issues returning to Japan, they could stay in the guest houses. Izuku stated as he pointed out the two other buildings that were on the land that they owned. Stella nodded her head and they made their way into their home. Overall, Stella loved the home and enjoyed the more traditional Japanese feeling of the style of the house, but it still provided many modern benefits that she enjoyed. Though she was curious about the bathroom that was connected to the main bedroom, then she realized that there wasn't really a door blocking the side. She turned to Izuku, who had massive blush on his face, and said, "Sorry, just tell me wherever you wanted to take a shower and I will avoid our bedroom," Izuku said, and then she realized that they were both alone in the new home, together with no one else. It was as if they were new-led couple. This caused her to blush hard and Izuku just rubbed her back since he had a good idea of what she was thinking about. Izuku did point out that the other bathrooms had a bit of more privacy with them on the lower floors if she wanted to ever use those. He also pointed out that she didn't need to sleep in the same room either, if though they had been doing it so far for the past few months. She just shook her head and said it was fine and that it was embarrassing to realize everything, which he chuckled at. Soon they finished unpacking and things that they had brought and decided to go out to shop for clothing and some other things, since they only brought the bare minimum for the home from America. Izuku also set for delivery of food to be delivered by local food service company. We have about 5 hours before the company arrives to deliver all the food I ordered to stock at the home. So we can go now, get new clothes, or wait until tomorrow, since I don't know if you want to get out later after all the food is delivered, Izuku stated, and asked her a question and she thought about it and decided she wanted to go out now so they didn't have to waste time tomorrow doing it. Izuku nodded his head at her and after a handful of minutes they got in the car and drove off to the shopping mall. Soon they arrived at the mall and entered it. Izuku had decided to change his hair color to pure white while outside and wore some black shades and help hid from others, since his younger self was still on some missing person paper that were hanging around. Stella had noticed them but didn't comment about it since they were in public. Soon they had gotten all the things that they needed and had returned home. Iki, I'm sure you saw the poster, Stella asked, and Izuku nodded his head at Stella in a statement and said, "Indeed, I don't get why they have put more up. It's been years since I left and I have no plan to return to them. Anyway, if they ever find out who my father is, we'll lose any desire to connection or connecting to me anyway. I don't have any regrets about that being my father, since he was there for me and was given his old self to care of me unlike them. So I've let my anger go regarding them, but I don't know if it will stay gone if I find myself in front of them." Izuku said that and she nodded her head and just rubbed his back, helping him stay calm. Soon the food arrived and Izuku opened the gate via his phone and allowed the driver to reach their house. They soon had everything stocked in the cabinet and fridge and were ready to live out their lives in Japan and moving forward.